and welcome you all in T3P Technology to the Point. In this particular video, we will talk about the content related to AZ-900 exam, that is for Azure Fundamentals. So this is the video prepared in a way that if you are new to cloud computing or you are using or planning a Microsoft Azure certification first time, then this video gonna help you too much. Why? Because I prepared this video in a way that you will go through all the concept related to this particular certification, or we can say the cloud computing, in very quick way. So next thing, what are the exam topics about this particular certification? So earlier there were 6 modules, now there are only 3 modules. They consolidated. There are not much changes, just few services were there which is out of scope now, and they just realigned the sections, they consolidated, and now there are only 3 sections. First section is fully about the concept, either it is related to Microsoft Azure or cloud computing. Next is about the Azure architecture, how it is globally spread, like geography, region pairs, and availability zones, regions, how they are connected, and the core services. Those are, so this module is very important because it carries around 35 to 40% of your exam. And here we will talk about all the services related to compute, storage, network. Those are the core services. Then we have some additional services like databases, we have IAM services related to the security, and we have some advanced services like artificial intelligence and machine learning. Let's move to the third section, that is about the Azure management, how Azure we can Azure manage our infrastructure in Azure through the subscriptions, through the management groups, and there are some services related to the security compliance and all that. All things will be covered on the third section.
So let's start with the learning part. So first we have the cloud computing. In the short, if we will say what exactly the cloud computing is, cloud computing is the delivery of computing services over the internet. What are these computing services? These computing services can be anything like compute, storage, database, networking, and in the cloud, who will take care of the physical hardware and who will take care of the hardware up to date? It is the responsibility of the cloud provider. In this case, our Azure is the cloud provider, so it is the responsibility of the Azure. So what are the benefits we have with the cloud computing? It is cost effective, scalable, elastic, reliable, global, or secure. If we talk about the characteristics of the cloud computing, it is on-demand self-service, it is broad network access, means it can be accessible from anywhere. Resource pooling, it may rapid elasticity, major services. So we just need to pay what we consume. So we have 3 deployment model, that is public, private, hybrid. So Azure is the example of public cloud. When your organization having your own cloud, that will be known as a private cloud. In some cases, it can be possible that some of the component of your organization belongs to you. You want to keep with yourself, means your organization side, means your on premises, or with your company, and a few components can be on Azure. So these kind of cloud will be known as a hybrid cloud, or it might be possible that you want to take services from multiple clouds, so that will also known as a hybrid cloud. So how we choose these deployment model? It's all depend on your budget, security, scalability, and maintenance. Then we have the service models. These are the 3: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. If we talk about the control wise from the user's customer side, then infrastructure as a service have more control on your side, and you will be responsible for many of the components there. If we talk about platform as a service, it will provide you the environment where you can develop your applications. Mainly it will be used for that one. Then we have the software as a service. It's based on licenses, like Gmail is the one of the example for that one. Office 365 is also software as a service. If we see all together these service models, so if you see, these are the components which come into picture when we plan to deploy our infrastructure, or we can say plan to deploy our application. So how it works? So we have the data center, or we can say the physical building. Then we have the networking inside that building or the data center. Then we have the servers in the rack in the data center. Then on those servers we will install the operating system. On the operating system we deploy our tools, database, whatever tools we want. With the help of those tools we will develop the application. The application will be hosted on those server. So how it works? But when we talk about the infrastructure as a service, if you see from right to left, data center, networking part, and the server part will come into IaaS. If we talk about platform as a service, then operating system and development tools also managed by the cloud provider, and it will come as a platform as a service, because they are providing you the platform where you can write your own code and prepare your application and host it in the cloud. Then we have the software as a service, where you just need to buy the licenses either for yourself or for your organization. When you go with the bulk, then definitely you will get the huge discount from the cloud provider. How these service model works in terms of security? In any cloud provider, it is having shared security model. They follow shared security model. And if let me tell one thing, if you are managing cloud on in your organization itself, you are not going with the public cloud, then from storage to data, means storage, networking, compute, virtual machines, operating system, runtime environment, that is the development environment, and the application data, everything you need to manage in terms of security wise. You need to handle, and you need to be compliant for everything. So you need the expert, you require deep technical skills for that one. But when you go with the cloud, and you want to use public cloud, then these responsibilities are shared with the cloud provider as well. So in infrastructure as a service, from storage to compute will be managed by cloud provider, and from virtual machine to data you need to manage. Similarly, in the platform as a service, from storage to runtime, cloud provider need to manage, and you need to manage only the application and its data. When we talk about software as a service, till application, cloud provider is responsible for the security wise, and you need to manage, you need to handle security of the cloud and the access in the sense who will be able to access the application with your account. Then we have the management responsibilities under these service model. So if we talk about on-prem, you need to handle everything like security model. When we go with the infrastructure as a service, from networking to virtualization, cloud provider will manage, and you need to manage from OS to applications. That means the patching part also you need to take care. Patching in the sense updating your security patches that we received from the vendor. When we go with the platform as a service, till runtime, cloud provider need to take care, and you just need to take care about the data and the application. In the software as a service, similarly, till application, cloud provider will take care, you just need to take care how you will access it, and within your account how the data will be managed. Next, we have the Azure services. This is the slide which I got it from the Azure side. You can also go through it. The URL is already mentioned. These are the main services which is provided by Azure. Let me tell you the important one which will help us to for this exam. Not only for this exam, those are the common services we regularly use it in our organization as well for our day-to-day work. Out of these are the first we have the compute, virtual machines, containers. These comes under compute. Then we have the storage where our data is stored. Then we have the networking, virtual private network, load balancer, DNS, express route, traffic manager. These comes into network. We will go through little bit all these services which is required for this exam in coming slide. Then we have the analytics and IoT tools, intelligence, data like database tools. We have here. Then we have the developer services, application platform, compute services. So many things we have in this whole picture. So it will give you the brief idea that okay, first at least you go through these all once, so when you go appear for the exam, you will not see this thing like this term is new for you and you are not aware about that. So it will help you from which category it belongs to. So just go through them. Let's talk about the important computing services. As I mentioned, virtual machine skill sets that is used for scaling the virtual machines or your hosted application or hosted virtual machine. Azure Kubernetes services that is used for managing the cluster for containerized application. Then we have Azure Service Fabric, that is the distributed system platform, and it runs either on Azure or your on-premises environment. Then we have the Azure Batch service, that is managed service for parallel and high performance computing application. Next, we have Azure Container Instance. These are the instance which is not dependent on the server. Means you no need to require the servers or virtual machine to use them. Just you can get the container instance and run your containerized application top of that. Then we have the Azure function, that is the event driven, or we can say logic driven technology, or it is serverless computing service that is nowadays very much useful, and we will get some question from here as well. Here we have the networking services. Those are the important one. And let me tell you, first is Azure Virtual Network, Load Balancer, Application Gateway, VPN Gateway, Azure DNS. Then we have Azure Content Delivery Network, that is the CDN. So I received one question from this, like, and what actually it do? It delivers high bandwidth content to customers globally. Then we have Azure DDoS, that is denial death of service protection. It protects Azure hosted application from DDoS attacks. Then we have the traffic manager. There is a difference between load balancer and traffic manager. Load balancer works within the region, and traffic manager helps you to distribute traffic or redirect traffic in other regions as well. Azure Express Route, it provides the dedicated connection between your on-premises environment to cloud. Then we have Azure Network Watcher, Azure Firewall. Oh yeah, Azure Firewall is also an important service. Implements high security, high availability firewall with unlimited scalability. Then we have Azure Virtual WAN, that is not much important. So these are the services which I got it from the Azure training site. That is the training of 9 hours, but I combined it together and made a useful content for you for this exam. Next, we have the storage services. In the storage service, we have four services main, that is blob storage, file storage, queue storage, table storage. If we talk about blob storage, storage service for very large objects such as video files, bitmaps and all. If we talk about file storage, file shares, or it behaves like a file server. Then we have the queue storage, that is used for mainly for messaging service, because its data is stored for queuing and reliable delivery message between the application. Then we have Azure Table Storage. It is NoSQL store that hosts unstructured data independent of any schema. And these all services commonly provide these characteristics. These all are durable, secure, scalable, managed, and accessible from anywhere in the world. Next, we have database services. In the database services, we have Azure Cosmos DB. I got one question from this one also. It is a globally distributed database that supports non-SQL option. Then we have Azure SQL database, Azure database for MySQL, PostgreSQL, SQL Server for VM, and the important service here is Azure Synapse Analytics. It is fully managed data warehouse with integral security at every level. So just go through these services once, twice, thrice. Just try to understand them. So it will help you if you get any question from, because this is the fundamental certification, right? You will get most of the question on the basis of concepts. After those services, we have few more like web services. In the web services, we have the Azure App Service, Azure Notification Hubs, Azure API Management, Cognitive Search, and web app feature of Azure App Service, and Signal R service. In the Notification Hub service, used for sending notification to any platform. Then we have Cognitive Search. It is fully managed search as a service. It will be you. Then we have Azure App Service, that is quickly create powerful cloud-based application. After web services, we have artificial intelligence service. In this, we have two. One is Azure Machine Learning Service, Azure Machine Learning Studio. Mainly, if you just try to understand how machine learning works, it works from the previous actions taken. So it helps us to analyze what we got it previously when we run some application, and how on the basis of predicts means on the basis of past experience we target for the future consumption and all. It helps in that way. When we will go through the question, it will be more clear to you. Then we have IoT services, IoT Central, Azure IoT Hub, IoT Edge. So in this, IoT Hub is the important one, messaging hub that provides secure communication between and monitoring of millions of IoT devices. How these IoT devices works and what exactly are these? Nowadays, if you know that we are having smart devices, right? The television, the bulb, and the Alexa. These are the smart devices. How it works? It works on the basis of sensor, and these are the example of IoT devices. Then we have big data service. In the big data also we have HD inside that is the important one. What exactly it do? It process massive amount of data with managed clusters of Hadoop cluster in the cloud. Then we have DevOps services. In the DevOps services, we have Azure Dev Test Labs. So what exactly this Azure Dev Test Labs do? It quickly create on-demand Windows or Linux environment for you. So it will be easy for you to do testing when we want to scale or and all. And we will have some questions on this as well. Now let's understand what exactly the region and availability domains are. The region is a geographical area on the planet that consists one or more availability domains. And what exactly the availability domain, that is the term from the OCI in Azure. Here we know as a availability zone. What exactly are these? Availability zones are physically separate data center within an Azure region, and one region mostly have three ADs in there. Means availability zones in that one. Each availability zone is made up of one or more data center equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. So the thing is, when we want to save our infrastructure if the data center get fails or fail down, right? So what we will use? We will use more than one availability zone for that one. It also provides the isolated boundary for your region. So let's talk about little bit about serverless computing in Azure. And Azure's serverless computing is implemented in two ways. One is Azure Function, where you just need to execute the code with the any most of the modern language is supported by Azure Function. Then we have the Azure Logic apps. Those works on the mm, workflow model, right, which are designed in a web-based designer and can execute logic triggered by Azure services without writing any code. So here the first action is taken, then what action need to be taken. So we just need to define those things in the blocks, and those logics will be implemented and run. Here we will not bother about the underlying hardware. That's why this technology is known as a serverless technology. We have already gone through the storage services, but these are few more important one where we have the more detailed information, like Azure Blob Storage. Azure Blob Storage is unstructured, meaning that there are no restriction on the kind of data it can hold. Azure Blob Storage lets us stream large video and all, as it is mentioned. It is used for large video, large data size. It can hold and we can stream that video. Means we can see those videos live in the way like YouTube works, right? Then we have Azure Data Lake service storage. The data lake storage features allow you to perform analytics on your data usage and prepare reports out of that. So data lake is a large repository that stores both structured and unstructured data. What is the structured data and unstructured? Where we define the schema is known as a structured. If we don't define the schema, is known as a unstructured. Like anything, we can put it like video files, Word documents, and all. Then we have the storage. Disk storage provides disk for virtual machines, application, and other services to access and use when we need it. Now we have the important networking terms that we will get into the questions, and these are the useful terms we can say. So first we have the NSG, or we can say network security group. Network security group allows or deny inbound network traffic to your Azure resources. So when we will talk about restricting or filtering inbound and outbound traffic, then we will use this NSG. Then we have the VPN gateway. The VPN gateway enables, like, it can provide a secure connection between Azure virtual network and your on-premises network through the internet. Then we have the network latency. Latency refers to the time it takes for data to travel over the network. That means if my data is reaching to your server quickly, then we will say low latency. If and normally it is measured in millisecond. When we check the ping response, right, there is a time also mentioned in milliseconds. That shows the how quick we are getting is how much latency we have between two nodes or two services. So what is the difference between the load balancer and the traffic manager? As I already mentioned, that load balancer distribute traffic within the same region, uh, and traffic manager works at the DNS level and direct the request to the endpoint in a other region that is the closest to the your users. Next difference we have, like when load balancer detects that there is unresponsive virtual machine is there, then it direct me or redirect the traffic to other VMs in the pool. And traffic manager if they found any endpoint unresponsive, it redirect the traffic to the next closest from the end user. So both works in a similar way. The only difference is Azure load balancer works within the region and traffic manager helps to redirect the connection outside region as well. Now let's talk about the resources which help us to organizing the resources within the Azure. First we have the resource groups, then we have the resource log, and then we have the tags. So what exactly the resource group? Resource group is a logical container for resources. In that group we can add anything, either virtual machine, storage, database, service, whatever you want to add, you can make a group out of that. But one resource can't be group for multiple resource group. That is the restriction there. Then we have resource log. How it works? We have two kind of resource log. One is delete, one is read only. If we apply only the delete, then it will help us to accidentally deletion of any resources from our environment. If we have the read only, it will also allow it will only allow read activities to be performed on the resources, and where these logs can be implemented, these can be implemented on the level of subscription, resource group, or any individual resource. What are the tags? Tags are nothing, just to provide the name. When we create any resource, it's better to provide the name, because it will help us to organize, it will help us to distinguish them. So what kind of resource it is and from which department it belongs to, it will help in that way. So in the end, when we want to analyze the cost, where exactly it is going high or where it is going low, these tags will help us. So these are the few factors that affect the cost, because so in Azure it's not like all the services are available at the same cost. So if we have different kind of resources, different type of resources, we need to pay differently as per the resource. Then we have different kind of services, so it also affect our cost. Then we have the location. In Oracle cloud infrastructure, we have the similar cost in all throughout the region. Means in different location also we have the same cost, so it is easy to predict there. But here we need to check in which region we want to host our application, from which location our user will access that application, the cost will vary accordingly. Then we have the Azure billing zones. Now means for each zone there is different cost defined. It's all depend on demand and supply basis. Here we have few important tools that is useful for this certification. We get questions from this. So first is Azure Advisor. It is a free tool which help us to provide recommendation on high availability, security, performance, operational excellence, and cost. How it works? It analyze your deployed services and look where it can be improved. So it to help us to reduce cost by eliminating provisioned servers or some circuits or some network. It help recommend us to buy reserved instances in place instead of going with a pay as you go, because reserved instances have very low cost there, because the reason is they are not utilized at all. So when there is no utilization, they reduce the cost dynamically, so we can use them for our environment. And also it will help us for as per our utilization, right size, or it will help to recommend shut down those machines which are not in use. So it helps in many ways, so it's mainly used for improvement. That is our understanding. Then we have the Azure cost management. It is also another free Azure tool. It helps us to provide the insight where exactly our money is going. That means it will break down the cost, means the spending, our spending. Then we will, okay, our computing service is taking more money than the storage, kind of means segregation it will provide. Then we have the TCO calculator. That is the total cost of ownership. If you are planning any migrations to cloud, as a designer or as an architect, you should understand what cost will be involved and how much it will cost me when I'm planning our infrastructure to cloud. So this tool will help us for that one.
So guys, that's it in this video. I hope you will find this video helpful for your exam preparation, and don't forget to connect with me on Telegram. If you have any question related to any any query related to any questions, any doubt, you can directly reach me on Telegram. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click on like button, share with your friends who wanted to start their cloud journey. Subscribe this channel for more cloud certification related content. See you in next video.